easel.
All right, cool. So this is going to be really fun. What we're going to do here is compare the lifetime customer value of first one target customer, and then we're going to compare it with another target customer in the second step of the exercise. So we're going to walk through this together, and as we do it, hopefully you can be thinking a little bit about how your target persona or a customer group would fit into the LTV and CAC type of framework. So I'll tell you the example that we're going to use. So I do some part-time work for a startup in San Francisco, and this startup sells a ticketing platform. So what they do is they partner with music venues, and then the music venues use the ticketing platform as their sort of native ticketing platform. And then what happens is when their customers, the people who are going to go to the concerts, buy a ticket using our platform, we get a markup on the ticket. Basically, we charge them a fee for purchasing the ticket. And this is actually kind of a funny, sneaky way that venues make extra money, because they charge the ticketing platforms like us an upfront fee in exchange for agreeing to use our technology, because we're basically making the revenue, and in exchange they're getting this upfront fee. So recently they asked me to sign on a new venue in Chicago. We're going to call it the Irish, and the Irish deal kind of looks like this. So basically it took me about 6 hours to work this deal out, because I already knew the head of this venue, and I could call him up. We went to lunch, you know, he was interested. We had to work out some contractual details, and then all in all it took about 6 hours, and my bill rate's about $55 an hour. Then we had to pay the Irish $1,000, because that's the upfront fee that we're paying them in exchange for using our ticketing platform. So in this case, we acquire one customer, and so the customer acquisition cost in this case is $1,330. Now, the way that this works is that they're going to use our ticketing platform 10 times. And each of those 10 times, they're going to sell about 80 tickets to the show. So in total, we're going to get something like 800 purchases. I'm just going to basically write this in here as 800 single purchases per year from this customer. And then the average revenue that we're going to make is about $2 per purchase, because that's our fee on top of these ticketing sales is $2. And then because this is a fixed deal, 10 shows, we're just going to leave this at 1. So it's not a multi-year type of deal. So in this case, the LTV of the Irish is about $1,600. And then with all of our costs factored in, this is a slightly profitable endeavor. $270 is what, at the end of the day, we get to use to run the ticketing platform and maybe take some profit. All right, so now let's move on to some comparisons. So here's the scoop. So here's the Irish right here. And actually, I'm going to go and copy this data here for the Irish. So this is a legit scenario, and there's another venue in Chicago that I know called the City Club. And it's a much bigger venue. And the City Club will require a lot more work, because they're more sophisticated, very high capacity, high volume club. And it'll be interesting to see how this all shakes out. So I think in order to touch base with the boss of the City Club and work with his booking head and probably their accountant and lawyers, I think it will probably take us at least 25 hours. Again, my bill rate is $55 an hour, and we're going to offer them $10,000 in order to use our technology. So the total acquisition cost here, again, one client, it's going to be, here we look, $11,375. So obviously the CAC of the City Club is much higher than the CAC of the Irish. Okay, but the perk is that the City Club is going to use our tickets, they're going to sell, you know, many more tickets than the Irish is probably. So we estimate, based on what we've seen from their ticketing sales, that they're going to sell about 200 tickets a week. So if we do 200 tickets times about 48 weeks in a year, then that's 9,600 tickets that the City Club is going to sell with us. And so that's basically like 9,600 instances of a sale is how we're going to calculate it here using the comparison LTV calculator that you have access to. Now, in this case though, they're not going to agree to give us $200 per ticket sale. Instead, it's going to be more like $1.50. And this is, again, just like a one-time, one-year deal. So there we go. Now, when we look at this, it's interesting because obviously the City Club is a lot more difficult. I mean, it's almost 4 times more hours that it's going to take, and then we're going to have to pay them $10,000 to use our technology versus $1,000 with the Irish. But at the end of the day, even though the City Club is a lower gross revenue per transaction situation, it's ultimately worth, you know, more money, $3,000 basically versus $270, to focus our energy on working with the City Club. And so this is a good example of a time when the Irish might be a little bit easier. It was super easy for me to negotiate this deal, but it wasn't really worth that much. And if I do the calculations here, I know that if I can get this deal done for the City Club, it'll be much more valuable for the organization.